Now, till now we have seen only simple functions which take some parameters and return some parameters, some values as parameters. Now, let's see some different types of functions. And before going to different types of functions, for explaining the functions, I'm taking a simple use case here. Okay, so for that use case explanation, I need I'm defining some functions, simple functions. Just okay. So I have a identity function. I declared my function def identity. It takes x, which is of int type as parameter, and it returns that same x. Okay, and I have a square function which takes x and returns x star x, and cube function x star x star x. Now, what I want to do is similar to that recursive summation. Now, I want to achieve that recursive summation operation between two numbers, a range of two numbers. Like if I give a comma b, if a is 1 and b is 10, that 1 to 10 numbers will get summed up. And if I ask for squares between that range, 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square up to 10 square I should get. And if I ask cubes between those two ranges, then my result should be like 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube plus 4 cube up to 10 cube. Okay, so these are the functions that I need. So for that, if I don't have any other extra features, so what I will do is I will define simple sum, def sum simple. Let me see if this has got or not. Okay, so I got this worksheet at least. So simple sum or sum simple, which takes a in a comma b, and if the range is not there, if I give 2 comma 2, there is nothing range between those two, then I will simply return 2. Okay, and if there is a range, else a plus sum of simple of a plus 1 comma b. This is a recursive calling, right? And sum of squares. So if there is no range between those two numbers, I will simply return the square of a, else square of a plus and some squares of a plus 1 comma b. Okay, and sum of cubes. Okay, so def sum cubes a comma b in range. So if there is no range, then return only cube of a. If there is a range there is a gap between those two numbers, then cube of a plus some cubes of a plus 1 comma b. Now, either let me take these functions and run in the shell or in the Scala Interpreter. Either of them is fine for me. Now, so let me call this. So sum simple of 1 comma 10. And some squares Hey, if you guys are not able to see the font, I will increase the font as Appearance, colors and fonts. What's the heck is this? Why is it not showing? I am not able to edit it. Generally, we should be able to edit from here. Colors and fonts, content types, basic.
Maybe you can try zooming your worksheet. That's a simple way, right?
That's a simple way.
Shiva, the text font last one.
What is it? Text.
Text font. Yeah, I just now saw it. In the basic, it is text.
Basic.
Text font. Yeah, last one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I think it's too large. Okay, so this is more than enough. I think you guys are able to. And even if I reduce font a little more also, I think it's fine. Just give me a second. Okay. Because that might be too much. Okay. So I hope you guys can see this now. Now, I'm simply calling these three methods some cubes of 1 to 10. Okay. I'll simply execute this portion of it. Just execute that. So I printed some of simples. Where is this? Some simple. Why didn't it print that? Result 0. Why did it print? Okay, so when I executed some simple 1 to 10, it gave me 55. Some squares from 385, and sum of cubes it's 3025. Okay. Now to achieve these three functionalities, so I have to write three different functions. But if you observe, there is a similarity between all these three functions. So in all the places, I'm just doing sum. But sometimes the original numbers as it is, sometimes the numbers are squares, sometimes the cubes of those numbers. Okay. So if I can parameterize that, whether I need the same numbers or squares or cubes, I can reduce the footprint of this code. I can my functions may become even more generic. I don't need to write this many functions. If I have 4 squares, if I need to write one more function, if I need to use this approach. So I mean, not just for this purpose. So to solve these kind of things, we have higher order functions, where till now in Java, you might have seen a function accepting some irregular parameters. But in higher order functions, a function can accept another function as a parameter. Okay, so till now all the functions that we have seen, we are just passing either integers, strings, bools, all any regular data types. But we didn't see any example for passing a function as a parameter to another function. So if you write a function which accepts another function as a parameter, then the function that you wrote is higher order function. The same simple, the previous example that I can achieve, I can simply write one simple function. So here I have these functions, def square, def identity. So instead of these three, I'll simply write a one simple sum function. Okay, def sum. So what it has to do, this is a function which takes an integer as parameter, because all these functions take integer as parameter, and returns another integer as parameter return type, and what it takes, a range. A is of integer, again sorry, B is another integer. Okay, so let me not worry about the return type, let the Scala decide that. Sorry, I saved it, it went to top. Let me remove them, if there are any errors. So what I want to do inside this is, I'm passing the function itself is a parameter to it. If as per this, if n equals to 0, or if a equals to b, that's the case, right? Return f of a. If you need a simple sums, return identity of a. If you need a square sum, return square of a. And if you need cubes, return cubes. Else, what we will do, f of a plus sum of f comma a plus 1 comma b. Why is it throwing error message? Recursive method sum needs result type. Okay, it's expecting a result type. Okay, so this is a recursive functions need a return type to be defined. Okay, now if I use this, if I want to calculate the sum of irregular numbers, I can call the same thing here, sum of identity function which takes the same number and returns the same number, and 1 comma 10. And if I execute this, it might throw that the function is not there if you want to treat it partially applied. See, so I printed that result as 55. And if I want to call, if I need a squares, I can achieve just pass the square. And if I run this, I'll achieve the squares. Result 5, which is of integer 385. If I need a cube, sorry, sum of whatever you want. So my function itself, I am passing it as a parameter here. The operation which I need, that itself I am passing it as a parameter. With the help of calling a function inside or passing a function as a parameter to another function. So now here, whatever the function I wrote, sum.
Shiva?
Yeah, let me complete. Okay. So whatever the function that I have written sum here, so this is now called as higher order function. And we use this a lot. I mean, not this exactly. There is one more version. I mean, there is one more thing that we do in the next slides that we use a lot in Spark programming. And someone, I think it's Dhruva, asked about lambda expressions. That will also get covered in the next slide based on this concept, higher order functions. Yes, Nayali, go ahead.
Is there any limit of how many functions can be called in each other? Like right now you have sum and square or sum and cube. Like, do we have in like constant, if you have an infinite loop, can we have like, is there a limit to that?
Passing functions as parameters to a function, another function?
Yeah. Like sum, cube, or any, I don't know, function 1, 2, 3, 4. If you keep on doing it, it's like, is there a limit? Like if it is say 10 terabytes of function that we are doing data, we can only have 10 times we can do it. Or is there any limit, or it all depends on the server?
There is no such limit, but there is no such explicit limit. But some places I have seen, if you try to call more than 256 times recursively,
I'm not going to reach there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's fine.
So if you try to call more than 256 times recursively, then that's going to be a overflow, stack overflows, exceptions kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough. Thank you.
Yep. So this is higher order function. Okay. Now with the help of this, I made, at least I reduced my functions. I don't need now these many functions. With just help of one function, I achieved all the operations. Okay. Then next, instead of having these functions separately defined, because they are used only one time inside this, you can also directly code them in the function while calling it. Okay. So here f:\int arrow int means f is a function that takes an integer parameter. Arrow means returns an integer data type. Okay. Now this is one of the very, very important, the anonymous function.
Can you go back? I just missed that. I just got lost in that big function. Yeah. Can you say that again?
Yeah. So here, while defining the function, when you are specifying the parameters, if it is a regular parameter, you specify a:\int, a:\string, a:\float, something like that. If it is a function, you will specify the parameter, the input parameter types. Let's say if it is accepting 2 parameters. If it is going to accept 2 parameters, then you should specify int, float, and return some float.
Okay, so you're having a function.
Yep.
Okay.
So here you are telling that f is a function which takes 2 parameters. One is first parameter is int, and second parameter is a float, and it returns float.
Okay.
Okay. If you have any
so do we
number of
have to
parameters,
mention? do we have to each time mention the return type also? Like, is it a
Yes.
compulsory to,
Yeah. Here.
in case we don't know, it could like once the calculation is done, we might get varchar also. Can we declare it as like a general one, like any or
If
something?
you are using, yes, you can declare that. Any also you can give.
Just to be on the safer hands when we don't know what's.
You can give any type mismatch found, any required int.
Okay.
Okay. So as at least, I mean, in nested function, when you are passing a function as into another function parameter, try to be specific.
Okay.
Because you already passing a function and you know that what the function that you have defined, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here you know. Here even if you didn't specify the return type, it identified this, it identifies it as an int, but here you have to specify that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, coming to the anonymous.
Sorry,
Yes, Dharmesh.
can you go back to Eclipse?
Yes.
So when you define with the function return type as any, last the whole function after a and b, you have return type integer, right?
Yep.
So that should be any, right?
That should be of any. Generally, we don't give any data. Any. If you are not returning anything, we give unit. If you are returning anything, try to give at least any val or any ref in the worst case.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to confirm that whatever the inside the function return type should be the final return type of the whole function.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is a bit about passing one function as a parameter to another function. Is I mean, using this we write